It is Slash co-hosting the Rock 30 today. Actually, twice we get to talk to you in 1 year, and we got something really big to talk about. First of all, Slash, good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, man, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a little while.
It has been. Well, the Gibson brand obviously is something that continues to grow, be it the record label, and now they've got Gibson Publishing, which leads us into what we're talking about today with the book called The Collection Slash, a premium coffee table book. Let's talk about where the beginning of this idea started from, and it's going to be shipped mid-November. So kind of take us back to the beginning of this project.
To make a long story short, I think the idea of sort of just cataloging of all my guitars, we might have tossed that around in passing a couple times. It might have got it brought up. I can't even remember specifically, but I sort of feel like vaguely I remember something like that. But really, when it came down to it, is Cesar from Gibson came to me and goes, "Hey, what about doing a book with all the guitars in it?"
Right.
And I was like, that would actually be cool to do at this point, And I have a lot of guitars, and the funny thing about having a lot of guitars is you can only play one at a time.
Right.
And so the other guitars are just sitting around while you're using another one, and it's great to be able to sort of give them some love by just exposing them, getting them out of the cases. So we said, yeah, let's do it. And Ross Halfin came down, and we spent about 4 days. Well, at least I spent 4 days shooting with the guitars. I think they spent in total around 2 weeks pulling everything out and getting individual shots and this and that and the other. But I mean, it was relatively painless. It was great to go down there and see, there's some photos that have 20 or 30 guitars all on stands and on one backdrop, and it was sort of cool to walk in and see that. But it was all in all, it was fun.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned Ross, because obviously your history goes back with him to like '86, early Guns N' Roses days. So obviously there's a great trust with you and Ross. So maybe talk about that relationship and what you guys were trying to accomplish while putting this book together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Ross is great, and I've had a steady relationship with Ross ever since the early Guns days, and I've worked with him consistently up until the present. Basically with the book, it's really about the guitars. It's not so much about me. So it's really trying to visually represent the guitars as best as possible. And that's really the long and short of it, is just capturing them in their best light. So that's what he did.
And when you got a collection like of 400 instruments, and like you said, it was nice to get them out to breathe a little bit and get the light of day. But, I mean, do you have a special place that you store these instruments, be it fireproof or, environmental conditions that can change instruments? I mean, do you have a special place that you keep all of them?
Well, I mean, for the most part, they're all in basically one. I mean, I have a lot of stuff out on the road, and I have stuff at home and whatnot. But everything that is in storage is temperature controlled and fireproof to the best of my ability.
When you're on tour, how many guitars do you actually take out on average? I mean, what's kind of the average amount that you normally take on a tour?
Well, I tour consistently with two bands. So with Guns N' Roses, we take two rigs out to do international. So like we'll be playing in the States, and then I have a rig that's already in Europe for when we get over there. And then the first rig will go to, say, somewhere like Australia. And then, so that we can, it's cost effective and it's less time consuming and so on. So anyway, so in each rig, I've got about, I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got about 15 guitars in each rig, right? So that's 30 right there. When I'm out with the Conspirators, I've got about 8 guitars in each rig.
So you've done a lot of guitars with Gibson through the years. What was the first Slash signature guitar that Gibson did for you? And maybe tell me about that one. Was that something that, they just approached you and said, here, we got this idea and let's tweak on it a little bit? Or what was the very first one?
There's actually a good story for that one. In the book, I don't actually have this guitar, but it is in the book. We found some pictures that Ross did of me back in like 89 or 90, something like that.
Right.
There's a red signature, like a burgundy-ish red signature Les Paul that I've got in some pictures. And that guitar was inspired by the fact that my first Les Pauls that I got from Gibson, I bought in 1988 because I wanted to retire my handmade 59 replicas that I had been using because I beat the shit out of them. And I wanted to make sure I had them for recording.
Right.
So I went to Gibson. I said, I need a couple Les Pauls. And they sold me a couple factory second Les Paul standards, 3-piece.
Wow.
And those are actually still with me to this day. They're still my main live guitars with Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
But anyway, so those are my two guitars. And then around 1990, Duff and I went to a NAMM show in Chicago, and I went to the Gibson booth, and they had this one wall that had all these flame top Les Pauls with no pickup covers and no pick guards. And I went to the guy and I was like, that looks a lot like my guitars.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, you think? Maybe we should make a guitar for you."
Wow.
And so that was the beginning of the Slash model. They made me 2 Les Pauls that were flame top, and they had my signature on the truss rod cover. One was red and the other one was blue. And the blue one got auctioned off against sort of without my knowledge back when I was married. And then this other one that's in the photo in the book, I don't know where the that guitar is. I can't find it anywhere.
When you were buying guitars, for yourself, do you ever buy guitars that you don't want to play, just something maybe to have as a collector, just based on maybe what the historical impact that particular guitar maybe had on music?
That's a fine line. I don't think there's any really valuable special guitar that I purchased that I didn't ever want to play.
I gotcha.
Because usually those guitars have a certain kind of something to them that you want to hear what they sound like, and you want to be able to use that for something.
Right.
So some of these, coveted 59 Les Pauls that are, such a big deal. I mean, I bought one a couple of years ago. I think it was right before Guns' last US run or something. And it's a really beautiful, perfect condition tobacco Sunburst.
Nice.
And so that one is something that I don't run around with it and take it places, but I definitely want to record with it.
Yeah.
And I've got a handful of other guitars like that as well. But I don't really collect guitars for the sake of collecting as conversation pieces. There's always a purpose for everyone that I've ever actually bought. Like there's some reason why I want to use it or something I want to use it for or whatever. I just picked up a really nice one-of-a-kind 1275 hollow body 1961 double neck.
Yeah.
And those particular guitars, because they're double necks, have a great kind of resonance to it. So as special as that guitar is, and as much as you can go, oh, wow, look at that, you want to use it in the studio so that you can really capture the essence of it.
Well, since you aren't like your typical collector, I mean, is it safe to say the Use Your Illusion era might have been when you really started to add a lot of guitars, just simply because there's a lot of songs on that album and you maybe wanted to experiment with different types of guitars to kind of get that sound? Is that kind of where it really started at?
That was really the time where I started picking up guitars, because prior to that, I really just had the 2 standards, and I had my 2 handmade 59 replicas. So I started collecting guitars for the purpose of making that record to get different sounds and whatnot. And I actually had a little bit of money to be able to do it. And that was really the beginning of it. And I bought Travis Beans, I bought Gold Tops, I bought the 58 Explorer and a 58 V, and all this stuff that I picked up was all on that record, right? And so when we went out on the road, I took a lot, the vintage stuff not so much, but some of the other stuff I took out on the road with me, and I started to build up this arsenal of live gear that I would, go between songs use different guitars for different songs and so on.
Right. Well, you can definitely pre-order the collection from Slash. It will be shipping mid-November. You can get the custom or deluxe version. I believe some of them are autographed too, right?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple different packages, and one of the packages I personally signed every one of them. Great.
Well, man, thanks for taking a little time, and best of luck with this. I definitely will put that on my Christmas wish list to have it there for sure.
You'll dig it. It's a really nice book, I have to say. They did a good job with it.
I think they did too, from what I've seen so far. All right, my friend. Well, take care and have a great day, and best of luck on the book.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.